Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine. Welcome to day 4 of Quran journaling. Today we're going to focus on ayah number 3. It's a very short ayah, so I'm going to spend this time adding a lot more of my personal reflections and notes to this entry. I am using a number of resources like my Tafsir by Ibn Kathir. This is the abridged version. This is coming in really handy. It's good to have like a paper text. Well, at least for me, I prefer having a book to refer to, but today I am also referring to an online resource. I have one more resource that I'm using, and you can find the link to that resource down in the description box below. I have my Quran notebook, which has the Quran on one side and the blank pages on the other side, and my word-for-word Quran, which is coming in exceedingly helpful because I am wanting to learn each of the words within the surah, not just the translation of the entire ayah. So I've added a little piece of transparent paper over my notes because I don't have any more space for these ayahs to write any more notes, and I thought that a piece of transparent paper would be good rather than a little post-it, with the sticky and removing that. So I thought this could just flip open and close and I could add in my notes, which I do. I add in some notes on the transparent paper. I'm referring to the Tafsir book as well as an online video. And then I even wrote more notes. So I wrote in the margins and all around the edges, and all of the notes are going to make their way into today's Quran journaling. But today's ayah is very short. It is ayah number 3, and it is, they will abide therein forever. And so it's a continuation from the previous ayah that talks about the fair reward. And so this then explains that fair reward is Jannah, it is paradise, and you will stay in there forever. So on the very top of the page, I'm going to continue the theme of the illustration that I did on the previous page, which is a river, like a water source. So rivers are mentioned in the Quran as being in Jannah. You'll have rivers, you'll have vegetation, like gardens. And so I wanted to continue that illustration. Now I am making a sunset, and that's just my interpretation. There's no place that I personally know of that talks about days and nights in Jannah. So that's just me beautifying my imagery. It is not descriptive in any other way than just for me to recognize that this ayah is speaking about Jannah. Again, with the illustrations, these are memory tools for myself, a way to process the information. You could just remain with just text, just your words, and your notes and your reflections. So I'm debating on what to do for the remainder of this page. I'm thinking maybe I'll just write a few notes and then I can actually include the next ayah below. But I had so many things that I wanted to write that I went ahead and I began to write them. In the end, the space between the little river and my reflection ends up kind of being an empty space. So from the whole feel and look of the page, I wish that I had either put the writing closer, like up higher, or that I had filled that space with an illustration, because what ends up happening is that a lot of the illustration is on top of words, which is fine. I do leave some space on the side because I know that I want to draw a tiny illustration of a cave and then the king who ruled from east to west. I left those lines empty so that I could add a few illustrations, and I love the way the tiny illustrations turn out, but the large illustrations that are taking up a big chunk of the page are not as enjoyable for me, and I didn't really know how to fill the rest of the page other than just adding a background color, just so that it kind of has the same theme throughout this entire journal. I thought that I should still have the whole page covered with illustration. However, looking back on it now, I think if I had just stuck with the illustration at the top and at the bottom, because I will do a small illustration on the bottom, probably would have been good enough. On the bottom, I'm going to continue with the theme of Jannah. So again, water source like a river and vegetation. And I try to make the water look like it was flowing. I'm going to add a little bit of vegetation in the background and some rocks. So it kind of looks like it's a bit of a creek or a river. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but a lot of these illustrations, they're supposed to be quick and easy. This is not a full art form. This is supposed to just be like little memory tools, but I prefer like tinier illustrations in this regard. So I may, again, as I'm moving through this whole journey, amend how I do the illustrations, because they're really supposed to be tiny. It's the words, that it's the Quran and the translation and the word for word translation that I really want to focus on. So at this point, I've left a little bit of space for the cave as well as ruled from east to west. I was trying to kind of make the sun look like it was traveling through the sky. I wanted to make a castle, but then there wasn't enough room for that. So I'm just making some buildings, and then the mountains sort of blend in with that. But it's really to show the people of the cave. So these were the 3 questions. The Quraysh had come to the Yahud of Medina to ask about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, finding out you know about Prophet, so tell us about it. And so they gave them 3 questions that they should ask. They said, ask about the people of the cave, or ask about the people who sought protection, ask about the king who ruled from east to west, and ask about the ruh, which is the soul. And the last one is a trick question. No one should know about the soul because it is the knowledge that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the last one is supposed to be a trick question. So when the Quraysh came to the Prophet to ask about these questions, the Prophet said that he would tell them, he would get back to them, and then the 2 surahs, Surah Kahf and Surah Isra, were revealed in an answer to these questions. And in Surah Kahf is the story of the people of the cave as well as Dur Qarnayn. And then in Surah Isra is the story, or is the information about the ruh, and that belongs to Allah. So we do not know the secrets of the ruh. That's Allah's knowledge. Okay, so I'm just giving the rest of the page kind of a background color, and the palm trees are supposed to represent Medina, and that is this the entry for today's work for ayah number 3. So it includes also some of the themes of the entire surah as well. I hope that you enjoyed this look at Quran journaling for day 4. I hope that you will join me in this. If you do, please share your pictures on Instagram and be sure to tag me. Don't forget that you can find more information on the blog post that accompanies this video. You can find links to all the materials that I used. And if you'd like to see how our Quran journaling is going on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.